Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Marlene Cuellar.
And I'm Gavin Courtney.
And thank you for joining us this morning.
Yep, it's Tuesday.
It is, and it was raining for a bit outside there. From a cold front to showers. Lovely.
I know, right? I mean, I wasn't expecting it, but you know, so I'm thankful for a little shower every now and again.
That's right. It washes the dust off stuff. That's what I always say.
This one just passed over too, so it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, we're going to find out from Michael Gentle what that means for today. Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
How are you today?
I'm good.
Okay, so I was mentioning that there was a bit of a shower this morning, and I don't know if this means we have a rainy day ahead.
No, we're expecting a developing southeasterly airflow, and this will support mainly fair and warm conditions for the next few days.
Okay. So we'll have sunny skies?
Yeah, we expect sunny skies with a few cloudy spells today, partly cloudy tonight. Showers, if any, will be isolated. You mentioned we had one in the city a while ago, and we have a couple more between the city and San Pedro, but that should be generally isolated showers for today.
Okay, and what about our winds?
The winds will be east to southeast at 5 to 15 knots for today, choppy seas. However, the winds will increase and become a bit gusty tonight. And seas will become rough, and we expect a small craft caution to go into effect tonight.
Okay. And or high temperatures?
All right, we're expecting 82 along the coast, 88 inland, and 78 in the hills. For tonight, 78 along the coast, 72 inland, and 68 in the high elevations.
Okay. And for the next couple days, is it going to be much of the same?
Southeasterly airflow will dominate the weather. We should have a cold front coming down, but latest projections suggest it could reach the Yucatan Peninsula. It's not certain if it will get another passage, but we'll be looking to see if we get another cold front passing through.
All right. That is a tease to pay attention to the weather through to the end of the week. And the temperatures will be getting warmer too?
Yeah, temperatures will be getting warmer, much warmer by Friday.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that update.
Okay, you're welcome.
You have a great day today.
Same to you.
Okay. There you have it.
Yeah, I mean, I heard cold front, so I was excited.
It's a maybe cold front.
I know.
Maybe Mexico holds on to it. Maybe we get some of it.
Yeah, well, here's the hoping. I'll keep my fingers crossed.
That's right, and we'll keep monitoring it. But in the meantime, it is a sunny day today and for the next couple of days as well. We're going to move on into our motivation for this morning, which means it is time for Eye Opener. And our Eye Opener, taken from dailyom.com, goes like this. Your earthly existence provides you with ample opportunity to explore your purpose and use your gifts. The gifts we are born with and those that we work to develop throughout our lives vary in form and function. Some we find use for every day, while others are only useful in specific circumstances. Yet many times, we overlook opportunities to share our unique gifts with others. It may be fear of criticism that holds us back, or the paralyzing weight of uncertainty. Ultimately, we doubt that our innate talents and practiced skills can truly add value to others' lives. But it is the world as a whole that benefits when we willingly share our gifts. Whether you've been blessed with the ability to awaken beautiful emotions in others through art or industry, or your aptitudes transmit more practical advantages, your gifts are a part of who you are. As you make use of those gifts as best you can, Be assured that your contribution to worldly well-being will not be overlooked. By simply doing what you are good at and also love to do, you make a positive difference. The recognition you receive for your efforts will pale in comparison to the satisfaction you feel when fulfilling your innate potential.
Yeah. That's a nice message to start off our morning with.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. It certainly resonates with me because, I do some teaching work and things like that, and I'm always encouraging students and even just people in my everyday life to, find out what they're passionate about and share it with the world, and of course, share whatever it is that makes the person unique, because each of us has our own individual talents, ways to contribute to the world, and the more we share that is, it works both ways because it makes you feel good about doing what you love, and it also makes other people happy as well.
It's interesting that you mentioned your music students because that's really what came to mind. I thought of artists of all forms, and I thought of entrepreneurs who've been on the show immediately. The people who really take the big risks in pursuing non-traditional careers and just following a passion. And I think they're the ones perhaps who are the embodiment of what the Eye Opener is talking about. They recognize the talents that they have, they venture off and share it with the world. It comes with a lot of criticism, it comes with a lot of hard work, but they stick to it. And so I think that they are such great examples of how even if it's not something traditional, you can still pursue it. And I'm sure they have a level of satisfaction that the rest of us wouldn't be able to understand. But the message does go beyond that, and it's an interesting thing because I think that you hear sometimes growing up about your potential, but very rarely do people help you to identify your gifts.
True.
And you see it, like you can see it in someone who's young and passionate, and you can tell that gift, but we don't always say it. We don't always help them to identify it. And I think that was perhaps something that we should encourage more and tell people, what they're good at or what we see in them, not necessarily that we tell them what to do with their lives, but at least help them in coming to that sense of clarity as well.
Yeah, and I think two things that are kind of jumping into my mind are first is the part of the eye opener that talked about the fear of uncertainty, because that's a huge thing that does prevent people from actually going for their dreams, whether it's in the arts, whether it's as you said, an entrepreneur, because there's no guarantee of success. You just have to have that sort of motivation and that internal sort of drive, and it can be really, really daunting, especially when you do get criticism or people trying to hold you back. So that's a huge thing. So it does take a lot for somebody to really push through and persevere on their envision or whatever their path is that they want. And then the second thing is going back to the whole idea of individuality. I think that another issue is that when things are non-traditional or it doesn't fit sort of the idea that sort of people might have or something preconceived, or maybe people have been doing something for so long one way and then somebody has a different idea. And and they get so much blowback. But I think that it starts from even how, from the time that you're a young child and stuff. I think that what sometimes people don't do enough is we don't highlight, or let me say appreciate differences enough, rather than we try to, especially in school and young children, we try to make everybody sort of very uniform.
We streamline them.
I can even think of an example one time that from my childhood, and when I look back on it, I think we were doing something in math class, and I think we were doing something like sequences and patterns and something, and we're like, all right, so find the actual answer to this. And one of my friends got an answer, but he recognized a different sequence in the numbers. But he got the question wrong. But when I always think about that to say that Like, well, I mean, he got what the teacher was looking for wrong, but he still found a sequence. And when you think about like people, especially like technological people, and nowadays we have like all these hackers and people who try to find codes and stuff. I'm like, somebody who can like has the ability to like see patterns where nobody else can see them. That's a huge skill.
Yeah.
But we're teaching about, you know, in that moment he was taught that that was wrong.
It
So,
didn't fit the curriculum.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know, I've always thought about that, and also forcing children at such a young age to decide on specific careers.
Yep.
You know, I think that really, for a lot of us, was very difficult.
Yeah.
And you know, you didn't get an exposure to maybe business classes if you didn't choose business from a very early age, which is still helpful to you in whatever career you do. And so, yeah, we do kind of streamline, and we don't allow for the openness, and which is why I think while we can't change what is currently in existence, at least we can try to nurture it with people in our day-to-day lives. So help people, one, by sharing your own gift, and also helping them to recognize their own as well. So that is the eye-opener for this morning. And so, you know, I think we had a lot to deal with yesterday on Monday. And so for the morning tea this morning, I got a question, right? So it was the big Super Bowl weekend. And it's so funny when you talk to people, because they're just two people here.
Yeah.
There are those who watch Super Bowl for the games, and there are those who watch Super Bowl for everything else but the game.
Oh yeah.
Which one are you?
I definitely only watched the halftime show. I didn't even watch any of the football.
All right, there you go. I'm glad that you share that as a male perspective as well, because it seems to be split along sexes.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, like, I could never really get that into American football.
Yeah.
I mean, every now and again I do, and then sometimes, like, I do, like, Super Bowl things.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, I go and watch with friends, or, like, go to a party or something. But even then, it's like, I'm looking at commercials, I'm looking at this, because, I mean, I'm not really following the game. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, all right. Because I mean, and especially like in recent years, I'm always like, okay, so I mean, this one was different, but I'm like, all right, usually the Patriots are there, and then they usually win, and then I'm like, what am I watching this for?
No, I am with you. I am definitely just there for the commercials and the halftime show. And I think every single year I get a crash course during the Super Bowl, of course, of what is happening in the game. I never retain the information. I'll probably get it again next Super Bowl. It's irrelevant to me. I just want to see the ads, and I want to see the halftime show, which I absolutely loved this year.
Yeah, this year's one was really fun. I really did enjoy it as well.
Did you have a favorite ad?
Let's see. No, I don't know if the one with Jason Momoa was really funny. That one was good. I like the one. Oh gosh, what was she? The one with the girl who's in the meme, with the kombucha meme. I forgot what. Yeah, that one was funny too. But those were mine. Did you have a favorite one?
Yes, I love the Boston one, the Ode to Boston, the smart car.
Oh yeah, and I liked Oh Baby Peanut as well.
So my favorite was definitely the smart car. I love accents, and it was just, I mean, that was so great to just see, and it's a great product as well. Who doesn't want a car that parks itself?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts? Are you somebody who watches the Super Bowl for the ads and halftime show, or are you all in tune for the game? Tell us and share it with us on our Instagram and Facebook, and let us know.
Yep.
And we do have, of course, a very important reminder for you this morning. It is February. It is the month of love. And by next week, everybody will be in a flurry trying to get gifts for their loved ones.
Very true.
We do have an open call at this time.
Yeah, so if you want to call in with a proposal, or maybe you want to share that you have a secret admirer. Maybe you don't want to make it a secret anymore. So yeah, you can definitely call into our show, so that for our Valentine's show, which is going to be, of course, on Valentine's Day the 14th.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Just get in touch with us, yeah. And there's so many ways now. You can call us, you can send us a message on Facebook, or you can DM us on Instagram. And with that, we're going to get moving into our show for today.
Yeah. So for our first conversation, we are going to be speaking about sexual harassment in the workplace. We're going to be joined by attorney at law, Audrey Matura, to discuss that very important topic that has been discussed recently.
Yeah. The second part of our show, really interesting. The first national Spanish spelling competition. So it's a spelling bee, but in Spanish.
I know.
We'll test you this morning.
I think, let's see how good I do.
So that is the second part of our show for today.
And for the last part of our show, we are going to be speaking with the House of Shotokan, who is going to give us a bit of an introductory lesson to karate.
That's right. So that's what we have in store for this morning. We have a break to take, but before we do, let's say happy birthday to
Nicole Roland. So from all of us here at Open Your Eyes on Channel 5, we wish you a great day. Happy birthday, Nicole.
Enjoy it. We're going to take that break now, and when we come back, we'll have a conversation with Audrey Matura about the laws on sexual harassment. That's coming up after the break.
The Belize Bank introduces its mortgage loan promotion.
And we are back, and we are about to start our first conversation for this morning, where there's a lot of information that we want to learn about what our laws say about sexual harassment. We have with us on set attorney Audrey Matura. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming in, because this is an educational topic for all of us. I think not many people have paid attention to the fact that we do have laws about sexual harassment. You shared with us just now that it has never been used.
Yes. Well, we do have an exact name, Protection Against Sexual Harassment Act. And sadly, I have found no record or don't know of any case where this legislation has been used to protect the right of any person, male or female, because sexual harassment can go both ways.
Yeah.
You know, we tend to think it's mostly female, but males are sexually harassed as well. Although the majority is always the female,
Yeah.
to be realistic. So we have it, like I said earlier, paper tiger. And what's amazing is that at least in Belize we have this.
Yes.
About 3 to 4 years ago, I was invited to go have a discussion through CARICOM states to discuss sexual harassment, and not one of those jurisdictions had anything, nothing dealing with sexual harassment. So they were applauding Belize, and they said, you are forward thinking and whatever. I said, yes, but it's only on paper.
Yeah.
And I said, it's best not to have anything than to have something that is ineffective. And sadly, I believe this legislation is ineffective. It doesn't bring the kind of redress I think you deserve.
Yeah.
And I think the process in itself could be so humiliating and discouraging, and that would account why we can't find cases where it has been done.
Yeah.
And let me explain why I say that. In it, you know, if you go to court, you make a claim against a person, that person has to show up and answer. You put your evidence, they put their evidence, and there will be a hearing, and then there'll be a conclusion. This is different.
Yeah.
You're basically applying to the court to do an inquiry. So you're not taking the person to court and sure that there has to be like a trial or whatever. You're telling the court, oh, please
Check into this.
check into this. And then there is an in-camera or behind-the-scene process that can take place. But at the start, without proceeding further, the magistrate, because it's a magistrate court matter, can determine that waste of time, that it won't go anywhere. So I'm worried about that aspect, and even what the relief could be. It doesn't really send a strong message. It's not like and then there are different degrees of sexual harassment. And this is not even a criminal matter. The way they put it is, it's like a civil inquiry, and the final decision, and there are different decisions which I'll go in a while, the details, what can happen or not. And the final decision rests with a magistrate. And it's not to put down our magistrates, it's that I believe that the nature of the offenses should require the matter being heard at the Supreme Court, which is a different process and a whole different level at which the court operates.
Different level of training as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's a magistrate court matter, unfortunately. And
So when
it
you say
seems
it's
so
not
trivial.
criminal, what would be the offenses?
Oh, the offenses to me seem so. Let me read them so that I don't misquote. And what I want to say too is, while the act of sexual harassment is not criminal, ironically, other things that can happen is criminal. For example, you have the inquiry and the person didn't produce a document, then that becomes criminal. But you have to take them to summary conviction to be able to say, okay, you committed a criminal offense because you did not produce the document. But you did not commit a criminal offense when you put the little person on their butt, or you said something sexual, or you brace them against the wall. Oh, that's not criminal. And then what we could look at is how, not using this, you can still get redress under the other legislation, since I think this is so weak. But let me, offenses and penalties.
Yeah,
Listen, so any person appearing before the court as witness, as an inquiry, no. I want the what can happen. Oh, the decisions of the court here. It's section 16, determination by the court. They can dismiss the complaint or find in favor of the complainant and make one of or more of the following. And the following are, they can make a pronouncement and order that the respondent has engaged in conduct amounting to sexual harassment and should not repeat or continue it. Like, spank your
Spank
punch.
Just don't do that
Don't be
again.
a bad boy or a bad girl again.
Yeah.
Don't do that again.
Yeah.
That's one. B, that the respondent should perform any reasonable act or course of conduct to redress any loss or damage suffered by the complainant. So that's a little bit stronger because it may be that you didn't get a promotion
Yeah.
and as a result, of course, you lost wages or whatever. You may have left the workplace. So that's one of the better ones, I would say, because at least you could get something out
But
of
it's
it.
still pretty open-ended.
Yeah, it's very open-ended. It doesn't say, and what it says, it is even mandatory, listen, that the respondent should perform any reasonable act or course. So this is, the court may make this order. It doesn't say that once they found that you have committed
make
an
a
act
choice.
of, that you must, this is one of them you must do. It's you may. So it's left up to the discretion of someone else. Then the other one is that an order be made to bind you over, not to repeat this for a period of time. Like
period
that
of
is,
time.
that's just so. Listen, it says that an order be made to bind over the respondent for a period of time, and any repetition of the conduct during his binding over shall constitute contempt of court. Not even criminal contempt of court. It's a contempt of court. Like because maybe we're in the legal profession, we understand the difference
Well,
and severity of it. You know,
And
it's like,
I was going to
it's
say,
so minor.
you got to break that down for us. Is it just saying stop for a while? Is that what it's saying?
It's saying
Yeah.
stop for a while.
And no
and if you-
definitive time.
I know,
Yeah,
no, stop for a while. So they could tell you for 1 week, I want you to be a good boy, no?
Yeah,
Or for 1 week, you be a good girl, right? And then they're saying if during that time you say something or do something that could amount to sexual harassment, which by the way, you'd have to go through the entire process again to prove that this act that you did during the binding over was sexual harassment, then, and only then, they will say, okay, we'll treat it as a contempt of court. It's like when we get
And the
protection
penalty?
orders are criminal matters.
Yes.
And if you violate it, it's a criminal offense and you have imprisonment and stuff like that. Oh, the penalties are very minor, but let me finish tell you so
Okay.
that people know what the court could end up saying. That the respondent desists in continuing the act in question. Just like the first one,
Yeah.
just stop it. When they tell you stop it, you know. E, that the respondent should pay to the complainant damages by way of compensation for any loss or damage suffered by reason of the conduct of the respondent. You have to prove that you
damages,
lost.
yeah.
You have to prove damages. They don't even make provision for emotional damages because sometimes
It is emotional.
You may have had to go to a therapist.
Yeah.
You don't know what the person, it may have affected your relationship with your partner or with your family members, with your co-workers. They're not looking at your loss at that level. They're saying, okay, you have to prove that during that time when you rip your skirt, and so the skirt may cost, what, $20? I'm going to give you $20 for the skirt for your rip, you know? Things like that. And I'm not trivializing. I'm telling you that's what it really means. It's like the compensation for what you actually go through if you've been sexually harassed. I mean, you won't quantify it in terms of that you could prove you lost your salary. You have to prove it's the emotional drainage, it's the emotional loss, it's how it affects your...
It's the violation,
You know?
yeah.
And it doesn't make a redress for that. Then it says, where the complaint relates to sexual harassment by a fellow co-worker, then the employer concerned should take appropriate action to ensure that the harassment ceases and to report thereon to the court. And I don't like the word should because it should be shall. Make it mandatory. It still sounds like, okay, you should
So
do
it's
it, but
saying that
you don't
your
really have...
place of
yes.
employment should
Yes.
protect you
Yes. Well, that part is good, but then...
or remove the threat of the sexual harassment.
Well, it could remove the threat, whatever they have to do to make sure it doesn't continue. And in this case, the appropriate action to ensure that the harassment ceases. The appropriate action may be they change you to another department, they change your
Transfer
shift,
you somewhere else.
right? But it doesn't mean that necessarily the person would have an employment. Then the other one is that it would be inappropriate for any further action to be taken in the matter, so they can actually tell you. I don't think it's appropriate for you to bring any similar matter to this again. I don't know how a court could reach that level. How they can
Wait,
determine...
what does that mean?
How they can determine in this case. So let's say you take a case of sexual harassment. They can tell you, okay, we don't think it's appropriate for you thereafter to bring any further matters before this court.
So stop complaining.
Just stop complaining. That's what the words I hear. That's what it means. Alex, you know how she put it. Stop complaining. Because it said that it would be inappropriate for any further action to be taken in the matter. And the final one, make such order or declaration as may be appropriate in relation to the complaint. So like, we're waiting to hear, shall be in prison for such time, shall do this, or have to do counseling or mandatory community work, or go to a anger management thing, or nothing. It's like, okay, you not a little boy or you not a little girl, we just spank you on your hand.
What about things like the sex offender registry? Because we do have
No,
one with the
no.
the latest amendment with the criminal code, right?
Yes.
So this doesn't align with that. If
Right.
someone is found to have sexually harassed a person, they don't necessarily go on the offenders list.
not on any offenders list. So subsection 2 is very interesting because it says the court may, in making the determination, which are all those things above, which I said they can do, they may take into consideration injury to the complainant's feelings or humiliation suffered by the complainant, right? So they only say, oh, you think she may hurt? Okay, let's go find that. We should tell him not to continue this anymore. They're not saying they should find how to help you with some form of redress. Just take in mind. You think she may feel bad about it? You think it may affect her emotionally, whatever? They're not even saying you can use that as a basis then to determine damages. Nothing of that sort. And determining damages is a way of getting compensation for whatever you've suffered. Right?
And then we know that we know as well that magistrates court is not a court of record, so it's not like that the magistrates would be in a position to say, look at similar cases, look at things and say that, well, this is what I think is fair. It's sort of given such the wide powers. It's like a, giving
ad hoc, like,
exactly.
Is this law mirrored from another country, or I
Well,
mean, because
I really
now that you
honestly-
read it, it's just like
I can't say. I really can't say. I'm sorry, but I can't say. But I can't think.
I'm just trying to
I can't
understand
think
why.
about other jurisdiction. So other jurisdiction that would have sexual harassment legislation definitely would be like European countries.
Yes.
Would be like Canada and the USA. And trust me, I can imagine them taking something like this to the Supreme Court. We're seeing what's happening with the Me Too movement, and Jeffrey Epstein, how it would have been more of a criminal nature, some of the things he did. We don't know if anything amounted to sexual harassment on the job, but they took it from a strictly criminal perspective.
Yes.
And we saw what happened to Bill Cosby, and I'm sure there are many more that will come up. There's Weinstein.
Weinstein is on right now.
You know? But you see how they deal with it differently? That's what I wish we would do here, because then usually the people who sexually harass are people in position and power. They have a lot to lose.
But
what this law does is protect their reputation for them.
And then don't we also factor into that one of the huge issues that we have as well is that not only the law, is that it's also cultural, in that so much that in our situation is that it's accepted culturally to do so much of what is really would amount to harassment, We think about, just walking down the street.
We tolerate a lot. We'll now start we too with that catcalling.
Harassment, yeah.
That
is
catcalling.
harassment.
Right. And unfortunately, so you need to understand too, this law doesn't cover sexual harassment in all places. It is very specific. So there may be situations where you feel sexually harassed, but you can't get any form of redress. So the sexual harassment that they look at is in institutions. So in places of employment. And in places of employment, I would have to read this legislation widely, that it means also public and private sector, because it doesn't say specifically. So places of employment. Sexual harassment in institutions, that's mean where there's students or inmates. And sexual harassment in our educational system is very high. I mean, to the point that students are becoming impregnated by their teachers, and it's hushed along the way. Then it also look at the duty for institutions to ensure that there's no sexual harassment. So it's still an institution. And the other provision where it makes is for where you are seeking accommodation somewhere, so your landlord will try to sexually harass you. But everything else where you happen, if it doesn't happen in a school or institution where there are inmates, so you have some control over someone, it's not sexual harassment under this law. And if it doesn't happen in the workplace directly, it's not sexual harassment, and we'll take it for private and public sector, the workplace. And if it doesn't happen when you go and try and rent some accommodation, be it a hotel or a lease for a apartment or house, then it's not sexual harassment. So the catcalling, or when you go to some public place to get service and stuff like, it's not sexual harassment. So imagine you go to the post office and the officer there is sexually harassing you, and it doesn't amount to sexual harassment.
Because you're not employed in that place.
Because what they're doing, they've limited sexual harassment to mean that the person has some authority over you. They don't see it and that is limited how they define it, having some authority, like a teacher to a student,
Yeah.
a
Employer to
supervisor
employee.
yes.
It does make provisions for employee to
Yes,
employee
the
as well.
co-workers, yes, because your co-worker could be your supervisor.
Let me just step back for
Okay.
a bit. Two things I want to get into the conversation. One, it's important for us to apply the context. We are
Yes.
hearing the atrocious stories coming out from the Police Defense Force of allegations of sexual misconduct, sexual harassment, extortion, and many other things. And I think it's
Yes.
important for us to know what the laws allow for. That's one.
Yes.
Secondly, we cannot have this conversation without talking about what the law defines as acts of sexual harassment,
Okay.
because it is a term that we throw about, but the devil is always in the details. So,
Yes.
what is considered sexual harassment in this legislation?
Okay, before we go there, I just want to add one little caveat. You've mentioned the BDF,
Yeah.
but I want you to know that for a long time, it's not only the BDF, it's the police, it's the Coast Guard. And I've had instances where I have tried to assist women. I've not had any case yet of men, especially in the Coast Guard, that has had serious allegations of sexual harassment. One of my more recent clients, they even found a way to get her out of the service rather than to have an investigation. The trick with that for me was that their rules make provision as to certain things that can be done. I had believed that it was best to use their rules because it was stronger than this. I could imagine in the BDF it's the same. They have certain protocols and policies and legislation that they can use. So it's nothing new. It's new that someone is speaking out. But if women were willing to tell you the truth as to what has happened to some of them, you'd be appalled at some of the stories. And it goes two ways. Some of them have eventually just given up on any prospect of moving ahead and are satisfied or become satisfied with just where they are. And some of them have given into the play for advancement. And I mean, some of us would be judgmental, but when you're in the
But we
reality,
don't work in that
when you
context,
are in
yeah.
the reality, it may make a difference between feeding your kids or not. And you have to harden yourself and you say, you know what, go with the punches. So that's what I wanted to do. So sexual harassment right here is anything from the touching and anything physical of a sexual nature, and words said, things are said. So like in Belize, a lot of sexual harassment goes on because in the workplace, I don't know if you realize how sexually impregnated some of those statements people say to you
Yes.
are, so it basically comes down to that.
Yeah.
You can, what I would suggest as a professional, because the law is so light, if someone touches you, and it is sexual harassment, but you don't believe you'll get redress here, which I don't think you'll get redress here, this is a humiliation in itself, you can then use the criminal system, use the criminal code, because there is provision there for different types of sexual assaults. And it may be just a common assault, which is minor, to up to where you could say, look, it's an aggravated assault. Because, I mean, you've actually had instances where the person says, he has pushed me against the wall and he has done X, Y, and Z to me to the extent almost like rape. So, but now with the provisions under the law, you could use that. That's sometimes of an aggravated nature. It happens. But I think the more common one in our culture is the words.
The verbal, yeah.
And then it's your word against my word.
And that was the question I mean, it's been nagging me since we started, because the nature, especially in the verbal issues, a lot of, it's cultural. A lot of conversations can be very sexually charged, or there's a lot of innuendo that takes place. Where do you draw the line between what is harassment and what isn't? Because some people are willing participants, some people are unwilling observers.
It's dangerous.
Yeah.
Why I'll say it's dangerous is because you have to put it in context.
Yeah.
I would say where you consent, where we're having a conversation as friends. And I mean, we are all adults
Yes.
here. We've all gotten out of hand with some of our conversation, but we know time and place. But if you're in that conversation and you're not comfortable, you need to say that to them.
Yeah.
And you need to leave. You need to do something. Others need to
So
be
I have to say,
sensitive.
don't say that to me.
Yeah, I
or don't
like,
talk like that
yes,
to me.
you have to.
Yeah.
Because you have to set your barriers, your boundaries. Why I say it's dangerous is because I know of a acquaintance in the US where she was fired using their sexual harassment legislation because she received a sexually explicit video from her husband, which was kind of funny. I mean, all of us get this on our phone. And she thought this person was her good friend, and she showed the person, and then the person went to tell on her and said that that was sexual harassment because it was in the workplace. It was of a sexual nature and inappropriate for her to show me, and she was fired on that basis. No inquiry or anything. She could have challenged it because their laws is different. So this is another extreme, right?
Yeah.
You can't.
You have to know the other person is a willing participant.
Yes, and her friend could have said, "I don't want to see that," you know. And the thing is, if you're in a workplace where you're comfortable with certain people, certain things will happen. So you have to be careful. We don't want to get to the extreme where you don't know if to pay someone a compliment, because in the US the men tell you, I can't even pay a compliment because I'm afraid I'll be charged with sexual harassment. And I remember when I worked with Oceana, they gave us this whole sexual harassment workshop, which was very interesting because their system is different than ours. So some of the things we take for granted that we do in the workplace here, they wouldn't even dare try there because they're all just walking like straight, like, okay, I shouldn't even look at her too strongly. I shouldn't even say, you know, that's an extreme. We don't want to be there. We need to think about and deal with the really true harassment things where it's not just a co-worker and like you, so as you look at them, you went to tell the boss, he winked at me, and that's sexual harassment. You don't want to reach that extent. But we are not even there yet. We're like the real issues, and we haven't even addressed it.
And I was going to say that because I think, you know, clearly this has an issue where there are blurred lines between what's appropriate and what's not. But I think we shouldn't be naive enough to not recognize that in our very sexually charged,
indeed,
country, we know that it happens on a regular basis, and we know as women that a lot of it makes us uncomfortable. But because it's kind of the status quo, you either don't say anything or you move away, and you never really take action about it. It's just kind of like, well, you know, that's how men are, that's how they talk.
I'm glad you say that because I can speak from my own personal experience now. I mean, I went into the workforce when I was 19. Very innocent, very naive, even though you all can't imagine me at that stage. Innocent and naive in the same sentence with my name. There was a time when it was. And I'll never forget, and I like to tell this story because it's true. I work at the government departments, and I was a press officer, and I remember every time I went to this particular secretary's office, because we were assigned ministries, as I get there, because I had to go once a week to say, okay, what's the latest press release, he'd always get up and close his door. And I sit there just totally want to die. I think about it. I'm 20, 21, so innocent to the world, and I just want to die. And I went to my boss and I said to Mr. Romero, and I said, this is what CAPSEC does to me every time I go, please don't send me back. And he just kept sending me back. And of course I was a feisty little employee, so every time he wanted to punish me, I was sent back. It reached a point that I used to deal with a certain ministry, and the minister, he made sure that every time I had to do a press release, it was after 5. And I had to take a ride with him then back to Belize City. And then one day he turns to me and he says, young lady, do you have a boyfriend? And I said, yes. Are you having sex with your boyfriend already? And I just wanted to die. And what did I do? I stopped commuting and I got to stay at someone's house. I can tell you countless stories as a professional woman, what I've had to deal with in the workplace. And it reaches the point where I just play dumb, stupid, blind fool that I didn't get what you said, and it went right over my head, and I assert myself in a different way, and I move along. So it's not everybody who can do that, but I recognize it.
Can we just say that was clearly an inappropriate question, you know?
Totally.
That is an inappropriate.
I mean, you're a minister of government. You were minister of what then? Foreign Affairs? I could start calling names because I would face them. I would face them when one has died already. One is getting old and feeble. But it happened. It's true. It happened to me many times. And in government service, it was the worst for me.
But what's different now, and I think that's where we have, because I'm sure people are watching and saying, oh, come on, man, that just some question and it hurt you. But I know, I'm not saying I believe this, please let me be clear, but I know I've heard a lot of pushback on issues like this. But the question here, I mean, the issue here is that the world is evolving, and we have people of all ages paying attention to what's happening, especially with the Me Too movement.
Yes.
And now, to use the young people term, they're woke.
Yeah.
They know.
Yeah.
We're woke with them too.
They know that's a line that you shouldn't cross, shouldn't have crossed, or won't cross.
Yes.
And so while we have always seen it as culturally acceptable, and maybe people might think we're getting prudish if women suddenly set boundaries, it is where we are. This is the part of or progression that I should say that we are making.
And it's a progression we must make. I mean, you mentioned earlier about the story in the BDF, and I've been reading some of the news items regarding it, and I'm thinking, I'm glad someone stepped forward.
Yeah.
But she's speaking right now, not for the people of 2020. She's speaking for women from the inception of the BDF.
Yeah.
So let's go back to our independence. She's finally the voice for women who suffered silently from 1981, didn't get the promotions, were given more duties just because they didn't yield, were made to feel like the rejects because they are being pressured in some form and they're holding out, who couldn't take it and walked off the job and just said, just forget all my benefits, just leave it, let me move on. She's speaking for decades of women who have suffered and said nothing, and they just try, the women just try and survive. Do you ever wonder how come our women don't reach high ranks in the BDF, in the police, in the Coast Guard? It's because things like this. I mean, and I've had the opportunity to have an insight, having had clients now, but they come to me and I'm telling them the last thing I'll do is tell you, let's go through this. I prefer we find some other form. And let me tell you why this is not good too. This has a statutory limitation of 12 months. If you don't make the complaint within 12 months, forget it. Which is terrible, because people who are sexually harassed, it's a form of sexual abuse. Abused people, or people who feel abused, and especially on your sexuality, which is like the worst violation you could do to a person, they seldom speak up immediately. Very few are brave enough, based on how they grew up and their personality, that they'll speak up immediately, but very few don't. So that means if after 12 months, when you finally got therapy, or you found a way to verbalize it, when you find, you still can't bring a matter under the sexual harassment legislation.
But even using the legislation or taking a case like this forward, it's like martyrdom. Because let's add the additional context here. And I think the interviewee last night on the BDF issue said it so clearly. The minute you put the allegation forward, everyone turns against you. She spoke of running and people talking of her looking for it because of what she wore, or whether you have a drink in after hours, or you hang out with the possibly the person who assaulted you or harassed you. You are suddenly complicit in this issue, and it becomes, I think people realize that bringing issues of sexual harassment forward means that you're almost going against the entire internal culture, which means you have to,
even the women go against you,
and you have to suffer the additional consequences of not having been harassed or violated in some way, but everybody else watching you and saying, well, you make a big deal about this stuff.
I recently was being told by a person who went through an experience. She said she was hanging out with some co-workers, which is not unusual. It was a Friday. They were drinking and everything, and the co-worker said, I'll give you a drop. And she said, cool. And they went, and he said, oh, but I need to go in my house and do something. I said, come along. And she said, well, she was a little bit high, but not drunk that to the point. She said, and she went in and says, I regret it, Miss Audrey. He pushed me down. He wanted to have sex with me. I escaped. And she went and she told a friend, and the friend said, let's go to the police. You report it. She said, no. I can't even subject myself to that. He said, plus, listen to what she said. She says, plus, I was drinking and I was laughing and talking with him, and that may be seen by others as an invitation. So everybody who was drinking there with us at the workplace would say, why is she the one so? And then she may laugh and talk with me, and she accept it, right? She must know that that's the way we want. And these are the things how we further victimize the person. So she said she didn't go to the police. And eventually she just resigned because she couldn't deal with it, because she felt there would be a repeat. And it was this whole sense of guilt, like, did I bring it upon myself? And people don't understand that when you are in a position where there's sexual violation, it's so normal that the victim begins to blame herself or himself. It's just so normal. I don't know why it happens. Very few people don't do it. And imagine, she gave up her job just to not face it because she felt so guilty. I've known many instances like that where the person says, well, I won't say anything because then they will, what will my boyfriend think, or what will my fiancé think, or my partner, or my husband. And that's one of the leverage the perpetrator usually uses, because you will look embarrassed. Then you have to answer to your partner, and if it's not a supportive partner, they will flip things on you, and you might reach a point where you say, you know what, it's best I never say anything. Just make me accept that they pat me on my butt and just avoid now next time make it see me butt. So as they start coming, it's got to turn this way instead of that way, right?
Because
you want to protect yourself.
Even if you do decide to go forward, there's no guarantee that you're going to get anything out of it in any event.
And with this inquiry, you see what they said. It reaches here where it can be dismissed, and the court can actually say, oh, that's just frivolous and vexatious. I could imagine a man comes in the courtroom to say his portion, and the stories he could say that, oh, she's just saying that because she was coming on to me and I told her I wouldn't leave my wife for her, whatever. And suddenly you find yourself being the one accused of things.
Yourself,
right, and then a court decides, oh, well, you just brought that up because it's frivolous and vexatious. You were just vexed because you're using it to go after this man, whatever. So the law as it stands, my personal view is that it's worthless. I mean, if I had one extra copy, I'd tear it up right now and throw it just so effect for them. So imagine I tear it up and throw it away for effect, okay? It's best I go to the criminal code. But
the criminal code doesn't protect you from everything that falls under harassment. One of the things we see many times in workplaces is when men rub up against you, and you know they're doing it in a sexual manner. You know, I think that things like that can't be covered under the criminal code, can they?
No. But if they touch you, you could say it's an assault, but I understand what you mean. It's not there. I, as an attorney at this stage, I remember recently as a year and a half doing a case with a senior attorney, and I found it rather condescending how he comes and pats me and touches me and what he has to say. And I said, but wait, this amounts to sexual harassment. You can't treat me as a colleague. And it's not that they touch you. It's how they do it and what they say. You could sense that you're putting me down, and you're looking at me as a sexual object and say, yes, yes, darling, you know, that way, but the darling no mean nothing. That's, and this is me. This is me who would be vocal. This is me who is in a work environment where the male dominance is excessive.
So do you think that perhaps it's time for the law to be reworked, for it to have clearer definitions and stiffer penalties?
It should just become a criminal offense, I believe. This nonsense where we go inquire into your complaint before we determine that there can be some redress is crazy. It shouldn't be that we're inquiring like that. We try to test you if what you just said are true. We, instead of say, let there be an adversarial system, then you come with your evidence and your claims, and then you come with yours. And in a way, it's good that they say in camera because it protects you, but it also protects the person. What happens with the determination?
Confidentiality really
the confidentiality is, yes, but the confidentiality fine for the victim. But then that person is known to be a sexual harasser. You ask, what about a registry or something? Nothing doesn't become public.
There's no record.
There's no record, you know. So he goes back to another workplace, or she goes back to another place. Because I'll tell you another true story where it was the female who was sexually harassing the male, to the point that he didn't feel that he could make a progress, and she was the supervisor, and he became sexually involved with her. And we would say like, "Chawa, you score," you know. But the guy was really uncomfortable, and it reached the point where she was asking him to do things on a job that he thought was inappropriate, and he went and he resigned. He gave in his resignation, and the workplace was shocked. I mean, like, you're a great worker, why would you leave? And then he could not take it, and he told the truth. Well, you know, I've been having an affair with my supervisor. This is how it happened, and this is how it started, and this is what has been going, but I can't take it anymore. She's making my life impossible, blah, blah, blah. And then they turned around and fired the female instead of the male. But
Yeah.
what did the workplace do? They didn't do any further proper inquiry, which was wrong because other people may have suffered that. So it's not only the males that do it, it's females. It may be far in
Absolutely.
between, but females do it as well.
Yeah.
And it's because we haven't, the law could help, but then let's look at, you keep saying it's cultural. We haven't in our system taught our children boundaries, our boys and our girls. Growing up, I remember the boys grab us doing things, and when we were growing up and your breast is starting to grow, the boys found it funny, and like, oh, you didn't have breasts already, and touch it. That's when we were growing up. And we see it then as innocent, but it's because from then we didn't teach our kids to have boundaries. We didn't teach our girls to just slap and box for your teeth out for the other, which is what I would teach my daughter, sorry. And we didn't teach our sons to say, no, 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 you don't do that. We don't have those open conversations. It comes from the whole thing that I like coming and talk to you about, the level of abuse in our society, and we don't teach boundaries. So we need to learn to start teaching boundaries from this level, you know.
Yeah.
You can have all sorts of legislation, but if you have a different culture, it's different. And I like I have my son studying in Europe, and I like that he tells me, Mom, it's just so different. It says the way the men approach the woman and the way we date, he doesn't mean that things don't happen, you know, but the culture is just so different. It says this thing that Belizean men do to stalk women and humiliate them and send out their pictures and say that doesn't happen there. You literally get into an agreement, I like you, and you talk, and when it doesn't work, you go separate. And there's support systems in the universities and in the society to help teach that. We don't have that. We teach entitlement to our boys.
I always am concerned when I think of young women, and I'll be specific to women because it is the majority of the cases. We know that. It does happen to men, but it's mostly women. But young women entering the workplace, and I think that there's a lot of naivety that you have, and no one trains them for it. No one has that conversation. They're all girls' school. Do they have just one session talking about being able to recognize the signs of harassment?
They tell you to pray the rosary and be a good girl.
Yeah.
They don't tell you what being a good
or
girl is.
Or even at the tertiary level institutions as well, you know, because before they go into the workplace, they need to be equipped with what, because of our culture, they'll probably face.
But you know, the perfect opportunity in the schools is when they send them for these office practice. A lot of cases that I've known comes out of harassment when the young girls are doing office practice. I've known quite a few, and I think last year or last 2 years, one of the girls that was shamed or bullied with some videos with her and a guy, that guy met her on office practice, and that bank did nothing. That's wrong what happened there. And it's the girl that has been humiliated, and he's like, yo, the cool guy.
But let me go
yet they
back
released
to,
all her pictures and stuff like that.
Let me go back to the video part. What's in the laws for the protection of that?
No, nothing.
So up to this day, whether consensual or not, if a video is released with your image,
that's not addressed here.
That isn't included under harassment,
because that's what we would come under cyberbullying, and you know the cyberbullying legislation was announced, and that was it. I haven't heard anything else. No consultations. And that's something that needs to be dealt with. So, but nothing about that, because our law is not keeping up with the technology. And it's a good thing you bring that up, because in this, when you ask me what sexual harassment, it doesn't make provision for what the technology, how it can be used.
You could get it through text messages. Yes. Someone can send you lewd images or videos.
Or do a meme of you, or even at work when you're working, you can imagine a guy just videoing like, she look hot, man. What do, you know? He's not saying outright, and it's just his conduct or whatever. So there's need for more, but the conversation is starting. I don't expect to see the changes immediate, but if it happens in my lifetime, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
But we also need to stop doing bits of legislation all over the place and connect it.
Yeah.
These are all connected. This should have been connected to the criminal code. It shouldn't have been, this could have been a policy paper on the side, how you determine certain things, but the offense should have been in the criminal code, right?
Well, I think what you have brought to us this morning is revealing enough. While we can say we have the legislation, it is untested. And secondly, from what you've explained, it needs to be updated to include modern issues, but also the penalties are not enough for anybody to go through this, or even the process.
And you know, like the example you all are giving with the PDF situation, it should be even more stringent, and the penalties should be even more serving as a deterrence in those kind of institutions, because you imagine the level of confidence you have to give to your colleagues when you go in the military. I mean, you're having each other's back. I mean, there are certain things that are happening. Any one of the law enforcement places, and I mean, I could go on more on that topic because it's one of the areas that I've had a lot of complaints from police and and Coast Guard. This is first one I'm hearing from the BDF. It doesn't mean it wasn't happening. That I officially got complaint from, it's the first one I'm hearing from the BDF. Well.
All right. Well, any closing recommendations to people in the workplace who feel that they have issues with sexual harassment?
Well, you know, in the US, it is mandatory for every workplace to have an annual sexual harassment conference and stuff like that. I think we could start there. It's not going to bring about penalties and so, but it's a way to get the conversation going. I know I was hired twice in Belize by hotels that have international connection, and they have to comply with the legislation in their country. So I've done sexual harassment workshops in Belize for these institutions, but it has to become mandatory now. It has to be included so that people know what it is and how to identify it. And one, and the second thing is, don't worry what law exists or whatever. You as a woman start setting your boundaries and teaching your kids boundaries. And when I say that, not only your daughter telling them what to do or not to do, telling your sons, raise better sons. Son, that is not the appropriate way to do certain things. That's not funny. Things like that. So we can't wait for the legislation always. It's how we are developing as a people and what we think we need to do to protect ourselves. And one of the best things is to set our boundaries. Certain things people can't tell me, I will deal with them immediately, you know? And that's what my final words would be.
All right. Well, we started the conversation, and we thank you for coming in and sharing your insight on the legislation that does exist.
Anytime, you know, women and children are my topic close to heart.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to go ahead now and take a break. And if you feel up for the challenge, we're going to be talking about the first national Spanish spelling bee. I'm pretty sure you'd beat us on this one very easily, Audrey.
Yo sí puedo hablar español, pero no sé si lo puedo deletrear.
All right, so that's coming up after the break, so stay tuned.
With over 100 years of
And we are back. Jumping right into our second conversation, we are talking about the first National Spanish Spelling Bee competition. And joining us to talk about that is Dr. Niurka Nunez, who is the coordinator for the National Spanish Spelling Bee. She's also the Spanish teacher at Our Lady of Guadalupe High School. We have Leandra Trapp, who is the 2019 District Spelling Bee champion, also from Our Lady of Guadalupe School. And we also have a contestant for the 2020 Spelling Bee. We've got Jared Julian from Belize High School. So good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Buenos dias.
Buenos dias. Yes.
Okay, that's as much as I know.
So, I mean, this is a really interesting initiative. So, can you tell us a little bit about how we got to the National Spanish Spelling Bee?
Wow. The journey began in the year 2015, and it began at our school. And the dream was there to get to this point. So we began, and for 4 years we have been in this journey. 3 years we were at school level. Last year we began at district level, and here we are, the first national spelling bee.
Wow. So when you started in 2015, you said? Yeah. And you did it just amongst the school. The school is in Cayo.
In Belmont.
In Belmont, yeah. Where there are quite a bit of Spanish speakers. Were you? What was the interest level when it first got started?
Well, the plan has always been to get students who are not Spanish speaking to be part of this initiative.
Yeah.
And we got that. That happened at our school. Our first winner was not a Hispanic student, and she was excellent in her spelling.
Yeah.
So we keep trying to do that, get the students who are not Hispanic students or Spanish-speaking students to be part of this initiative. And we also have Leandra as well. She was the district champion, and she is not, Spanish is not her first language either.
And when you moved from just doing it at the high school itself to the district, how many participants did you get?
Well, we have the first 3 years that we were at school, we had invited some schools. So we had Orange Walk Technical High School and Belize Christian Academy, Methodist, Belmopan Methodist High School joining us at the school level. And we have, last year, we have 7 schools participating at the district level, 6 high schools from the Cayo district and 1 high school from Belize City.
Okay. So this year for their first national competition, how many people how many districts will be represented and how many children will be participating?
We will have 16 high schools representing 5 different districts. We have 3 high schools from Toledo, Stan Creek with 1 school. We had 7 high schools from Cayo and 2 from Corozal, 2 from Belize City.
Just Orange Walk isn't in it this year?
Unfortunately not.
Oh.
There was 1 school that was interested, but the schedule and the plans were really packed, so they couldn't participate.
So Leandra, you can tell us all about what it takes to prepare for a Spanish spelling bee. Let's talk about why you chose to participate in the first place.
I just really like the challenge, and I'm not, as you heard, I'm not a Spanish speaker, so I learned the Spanish alphabet in primary school, and I said, well, this is a new challenge, and I participated in the English spelling bee, so I said, well, I can do it. If I can do it English, I must can do it Spanish.
Wow. Yeah, because it's a high school level competition versus the spelling bee, which is primary school.
Yeah. So not being a Spanish speaker, how is it that you prepared then when and studied for the competition?
Well, I had the assistance of my teacher and also my friends, and at home too. Everyone partaked and helped me to get where I am today, and made me, because of that, I became the winner last year.
Yeah. What are some of the challenging moments that you have? Because what if you get a word that you don't know?
Well, there are always like your tips, like you have a backup word and you don't really spell everything right away. You think before you spell. You have to listen very carefully to the pronunciation also, because that is what threw off a lot of spellers, and that's what made them get their words wrong.
And it's helpful that in Spanish you pronounce, like it's easier to spell because it's based on pronunciation. Is that the case?
Sometimes I believe.
Okay.
Did you develop any like little tricks to help, or it's like study hacks that helped you?
Yes, because like some letters would be pronounced the same. Like for example, S could sound like a C or a Z.
True.
And so you have to like have your tactics. If you spell it with an S and you know there is no accent or nothing, then you just like change the S to a Z. Perhaps maybe that will be the answer right there.
Okay. So you don't want to give out too much of your secrets. Are you going to be competing in the nationals?
No.
Okay. So you got district champ last year, and that's you're going to take that as your fame. Let's talk about the 2020 contestant. What made you want to participate?
Honestly, it was just for the experience of trying, because I've never actually done a spelling bee before, and I wanted just to win.
I love that honesty. Do you speak Spanish?
No.
Okay, so how are you preparing for a Spanish spelling bee if you're not a Spanish speaker?
From the time they gave out the list, I would make sure I study 10 words a day, and then memorize it to know I know the words and like what it means. And then I had my parents and my friends at school who always tested me and made sure I knew it. Yeah.
So now you've learned a lot more Spanish words?
Yeah.
Clearly, this is a part of your objective here, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what has that transformation been like when you have non-Spanish speakers learning new vocabulary? It actually makes it easier for them to talk Spanish.
It is, and it's also, there's also this problem with Spanish and the students. They are not willing to learn the language, and they think that they cannot learn the language. So by doing this type of activities, it opens up doors. They realize that it's easy, it's doable.
Yeah.
Did you find that too, that it was that after you started to work, that it became easier as you kept studying? Did you? Yeah, the words and the language in general.
Yes, it kind of helped. Like in reading Spanish now, I can pronounce the words easier, so it helped.
And how about you? Do you find that your Spanish is kind of improving, or?
Well, yeah, with the pronunciation, it does help a lot, because a S might be a Z actually, because the Z has a S sound. So then when you're pronouncing it, you know, like you have the general idea of what the word looks like and how to spell it. So then when you're reading, then it's easier.
How do you accommodate for things like that? The accents and the words, and they're just supposed to know the word from the list?
Well, firstly, Spanish is a phonetic language.
Yeah.
So the same way you were practicing the alphabet before, the same way you pronounce the letters in the alphabet, basically that's the same word you will pronounce them. You will just, when you spell, you will pronounce it. So that makes it easy to spell.
Yeah.
There is a challenge, or a few challenges. One of them is using the accents.
Yep.
Right? So, but there are rules. So some basic rules of pronunciation and accentuation. If the student could master those rules, then they will know where the written accent will go in the words.
Yeah. So if they can recognize it in when they're hearing it.
Yes, yes.
And we have a few tricky letters, as both of them have pointed out so far.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are part of the learning process, because Spanish is taught as a second language in Belize. There are certain things that we don't teach the students at school. So we don't emphasize in certain things. And doing the spelling and bee competition will take them to another level, because there are certain things that they will learn practicing for the spelling bee, mastering how to spell in Spanish, that they are not going to actually learn in class.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting because we do have quite a few, we have a lot of Spanish speakers in this country, I should say that. I think the last census had us nearly at 50%. Some of those people are bilingual, some of them only speak Spanish as their first language. But it's also very easy for people to speak bad Spanish. We call it kitchen Spanish sometimes. And they may be saying words that they know the meaning and they can communicate well, but they're not necessarily using the proper pronunciations. Do you find this as a way to help others to even improve the Spanish that they do speak?
It is. It is something that helps a lot. And speaking about what you were saying, I have a challenge constantly in my classes with the students who speak Spanish. Because there is a confrontation at times. Miss, that's not the way you say it. Miss, that's also when they enter the competition, the spelling competition at school level, because we begin in the classrooms. So we go from our classrooms. By the way, sorry, we only have students in first and second form participating in the competition. And that's the reason why she's not. You participate only once also. She's now in third form. But the students in class, they will fight me sometimes with the
What word do they normally get wrong? Let's try to fix that now. What are they fighting you on so we can...
Well, one of the problems we have with spelling wrong is now the students are spending too much time sending text messages and they don't write words completely. So for example, K spells Q-U-E and the students want to spell it with K and E. And it sounds the same, but that's not the way you spell it in Spanish.
That's right.
So just this week, I have students in fourth form writing, Spanish student writing for a sentence, and he said, Miss, it says K. But he spelled it with K-E, and he wanted me to say, oh, that's okay. I said, no, that's not the way it is. So these type of competitions help them, even the students who speak Spanish, to get the writing skills to another level.
And so like what, like how advanced then do the words sort of get? Is it very sort of complex words, or is it more like everyday kind of things?
It is sort of complex. It goes from easy to medium to high, and there is also a reserve list.
Of course.
So even though they are memorizing a list of words, there is also a reserve list that they have not seen. So the challenge will be there. But as I said, it's fairly easy to spell words in Spanish.
Yeah. So tell me the hardest word that you had in the competition last year.
For me, the word that I had the hardest time with is the word that I'll be giving you.
Ooh, okay. We may need that break now. You meant you were going to give it to Gavin, right? Because he talks better Spanish than me.
There are two words. 2 words. So each of you will get one.
All right, let's try it.
So, otorrinolaryngologo.
Okay.
Okay, that was 2 words. So. And I have to spell it in Spanish.
Sí.
Can you say it again?
Otorrinolaryngologo.
O-T-O-R-I-N-O. And the second word?
Laryngologo.
Laryngologo. L-A-R-Y-N-G-O-L-O. No? Okay, I'm sure. You could have just stopped me from the minute I was going wrong. Okay, so that's the buzzer.
Let's see. How? Oh,
do you want to try that word?
Same word? Okay. But,
It's like even just remembering the Spanish
word. Can you repeat it one
word.
more time? Sorry, let's see.
Otorrinolaryngologo.
Oh.
Otorrinolaryngologo. Can you use it in a sentence? I don't know.
That's how you buy time to like remember. Have you figured it out already? No?
Sorry. O-T-O-R-I-N-O. Otorrino. L-A-R-I-N-G-O-L-O. That's the same thing that you said, I think. I don't know.
No, there's a head to the end that I didn't hear, right? We missed that G in the end. Say it again.
Or you can spell it now since we got it wrong.
Yeah, go ahead.
Otorrinolaryngologo. O-T-O-R-R-I-N-O-L-A-R-I-N-G. O con acento. L-O-G-O. Otorrinolaryngologo.
Okay.
Okay, well, we were done from the double R's, clearly. All right. And Jair, you have been, see, I'm switching it to Spanish already. Jair, you have been practicing. Tell us one of the difficult words you've had so far.
It would probably be one with a diaresis on top, especially when you have to say it in the actual spelling bee. You have to go like con diaresis, and that would be like piraguismo. That's a hard word, right?
What does that mean?
I don't know.
You haven't learned that one yet? What did the word mean? What did you say? What does that mean?
After I spent there, I actually searched it up because I wanted to know, and I believe it's a specialist in the eyes.
So it's like ophthalmologist, or is it ear, nose, and throat?
Ear, nose, and
throat.
throat.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It makes sense now. And we have to find out what your word means. Are you going to spell it for us to show us how ready you are for the 2020 Nationals?
Piraguismo.
Uh-huh.
P-I-R-A-G-U-I-S-M-O. I forgot the the conic.
Did he get the point?
It's just the U con diéresis.
Yeah, con diéresis.
Yeah. It was very good. Good job. Buen trabajo.
I feel not smart right now
No, right?
because I couldn't spell that one either. This is such a great initiative. You know, this is only the first year that you're going to be having the Nationals. I hope that you have participation from across the country. I always tell people, you know, you speak of students not wanting to learn Spanish. If I could go back in time, I'd take my Spanish classes a lot more serious. It's an essential skill for us to have now, and especially where we live in Belize. It's not just about, oh, we are an English-speaking country. It's about being able to have conversations with people beyond the English speakers. So we do hope that this can be something that will grow from this point forward. Surely you have sponsors who have helped you to make this possible, and it means good prizes too, that all the work is worth it.
We are still working on them. I don't want to give away the prices that we
Okay.
have, but yes, surely we have, so far we have about 15 sponsors, and we have sponsors up to Toledo, Punta Gorda, sponsors in Cayo district, in Belize. We have Niche, we have Veils Pro Craft Printing from Santa Elena, Cubola Publishers, and they will also be there selling and with a display of Spanish books during the day of the event. We have Niche, we have the Ministry of Education, Honorable Edmond Castro, the Mayor of Punta Gorda Town, I'm forgetting some of them. ¿Qué más tenemos? A Plus Solutions from Belmopan.
Okay.
We have
So people are showing their support.
yes,
Yeah,
we are. They are showing support, and we are glad that they are seeing this initiative as something really good, and they are supporting the event.
Okay, and so 16 schools, so that's 16 participants.
Yes.
And when is the Nationals going to be and where?
When is the national?
February 21st
February 21st. Where is it going to be?
in San Ignacio.
In San Ignacio. Okay. And the whole school is helping you to prepare?
The sophomore classes that I'm in, the two of them, we're going.
So we'll just tell the students every time they see you to throw a new Spanish word at you for you to spell. Is that going to help him?
Probably.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming in and telling us all about this. We really wish you the best of luck. This is a great initiative. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about karate. So stay tuned.
Signing up for Smart's broadband
はい、正座。もうそう。しゃぶねー。はい。はい。Open eyes. Speak loud. はい。押す。はい。立て。Exercise. Roll the shoulders forward and roll it backwards. Hold that a little bit that way. Hey, hands are out. Forward. Higher. Stop. Hey. Stop. Hey. Stop. Hey. Yame. Yagi. Migi. Left to right. Yame. Neck around. Relax. Circle around. Other way. Yame. Down and up. Yame. Side to side. Left to right. Hidagi. Migi. Circle around. Hands to dashi. Scissor. Foot to the front. Let's stretch our legs. Right? Have a seat on the floor. Ready. Stretching forward. Down. Hold. Ish. Knee. San. Back. Down. Ish. Knee. San. Back. Height. Down. Ish. Knee. San. Open legs wide as you can. Left side. Iragi. Ish. Knee. San. Migi. Ish. Knee. San. Chudan. Ish. Knee. San. Chi. Body back, right? Butterflies in. Hey. Bounce him, shake him. Elbows, knees, push him down. Hey. Elbows, knees, push him down. Hey. Both foot forward. Left foot to the rear. Left foot to the rear. Stretch down the middle. Ready? Down. Up. Down. Up. Yummy. Change foot. Switch foot quickly. Ready? Down. Up. Shudan. Middle body. Reach. Up. Yummy. Both foot forward. Left foot and right. Circle the ankles on top. Circle, big circle. The other way. Good. Change foot. Height. Circle. Big circle. Other way. Yummy. Lay back on the floor. Cross legs. Crunches. Let's work the abs. Ready? Get the count. Ichi. Ni. San. Chi. Go. Ruku. Sichi. Ach. Q. Ju. Yummy. Leg forward. Support your lower back. Flutter kicks. Ready? My count. Begin. Ich, ni, san. Ich, ni, san. Ich, ni, san. Ich, ni, san. Head off the floor. Look at your toes. Ich, ni, san. Ich, ni, san. Ich, ni, san. Ich, ni, san. High push-up position. Quickly. High. Sound off. Down, up. Ichi. Ready? Down, up. Ni. San. Chi. Go. Roku. Sichi. Hachi. Kyo. Jo. Ichi. Good job. Hey, left foot forward. Hey, Gai Kazugi. Yo. Hands to Grachi. Hey. Closer together. Ready? Yoi. Kibarachi. Cross hands good. Aisa good. Ready? Hey. Hurry. Shuran Gai Kazuki. Ich. Ni. San. Chi. Ho. Hey. Sich. Ach. Q. Ju. Jordan. Ich. Ni. San. Chi. Ho. Hey. Sich. Ach. Q. Ju. Get on. Ich. Ni. San. Chi. Go. Yummy. Middle body. Ni gai kazuki. Ich ni. Ni. San. Chi. Ho. Yame. Shudan, Jodan, Gidan. Ready? Hurry. 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 Yame. Yoi. Push up down. Hey. Yellow black count. Ichi. Ni. San. Chi. Go. Roku. Sechi. Hachi. Kyu. Ju. Left foot forward. Hey. Gai kazuki. Yoi. Forward, get on badai. Down block. Kick coming to the rib. Protect your body. Ready? Left hand shoulder. Hurry! Knee. San. Moate. Striking. Execute this punch. Body ready. Chudan. Ich. Oizuki. Knee. San. Ready? Moate. Hey. Now, Jodan Age Uke. Protect your head. Blocking the head. Ready? Ich. Someone striking here, block high, good here. Ready? Block good here. Ready? Knee, block high. One more, how do it? More attack, high. Ready? Forward. Now outside block, common body outside. So okay. H. Knee. More attack. Yoi. Hensugurachi. Left foot forward, stretch legs, high. Hey, body right side. Hey, Chudan. Hey, body up. Shake legs out. Hensugurashi. Yoi. Combat position. Ready? Adi. My get it. Now you kick in, straight, body good. Ready? And step forward. Ichi. Knee. More take. Turn up. Now roundhouse kick, execute around to the body. Around to the body, knees up, and around to the body. Ready? Ichi. Come on. Knee. Let's go. Ready? More take. Good job. Combination. We're going to do our maigeri and our roundhouse kick. Ready? Our front kick, roundhouse. Ich knee. Ready? Moate. Ready? Ish. Knee. Back a little bit. One by one. Height. You go first. Knee. Oh, that hurt. Ish. Knee. Hey. Moate. Turn up. Good job. Yoi. Hands to Gurachi. Height.
What a karate class of kids look like. That's what we have here. And we want to say good morning, of course, to Shehan Ray Kelly from House of Shada Khan. And we have Jet and Jules. Who's Jet and who's Jules?
He's Jet and I'm Jules.
Okay. I got to say, Jet's push-ups look a lot like mine, right? I feel a bit of solidarity here. Right? But Shehan, thank you so much for doing this demonstration, kind of showing us what your classes with your kids are like.
Yes.
And we always take the opportunity to talk about what it's like having kids enrolled in karate and how beneficial it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Having the children enrolled. As a matter of fact, as of yesterday, I received a call from a lady. She has a child about his age and about his age. And by the way, how old are you? 5 years old. And you?
I'm 10.
I'm 10. Okay, so we got 5 years old and 10 years old. And she said, my 10-year-old, not him, my 10-year-old is out of control. And I need discipline. I need some structure so that will help my child to discipline him. And I said, you're calling the perfect place. And the reason why is because that's what we do. We bring the little ones in and we have a structured program, and then discipline are part of that program.
Yeah.
As you can see, when I'm giving them and telling them movement to do, they execute it.
Yeah.
Parents, isn't that what you want your son or daughter to do? You tell them to do something and they're doing it instead of, Mom, why do I have to do that?
Yeah.
That is
Look
part of
at them
karate.
being so attentive now. Now, you guys don't have a microphone, so we're going to have to say it for you. But how long have you been doing karate?
For 4 years.
For 4 years. And that's a brown belt that you have there?
It's a brown black.
A brown black. So how far is that, Shihan?
He is just below a rank away from a black belt.
Ooh. Does that come with a lot of practice, Jules?
Yes.
And why do you like karate so much?
Because it teaches me discipline.
Because it teaches him discipline. Okay.
We didn't memorize that
I
one.
didn't say that at 10 years old. What about you, Jet?
2 years.
You've been doing karate for 2 years since you were 3?
Yes. Why do you like it?
Because it shows me discipline.
Okay, what's your favorite part of class?
Your favorite part of karate class? Which one is it?
By doing my kata.
Kata, yeah. I mean, who wants to do the exercises? We just want to do katas. Yeah.
I was waiting for him to say fighting, you know, because most of the little ones that come in class, that's what they want to do.
Like
they want
combat?
they like the combat part of it.
Yeah.
But that's you surprised Shihan this morning.
Yeah. So, because there are different elements to the class.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
yes.
exercise is the foundation.
As we did right now, we started out the class by respect, which is in our society, as you both will know, that is like way down here.
Yeah.
So within karate and the classes, that is taught to the children that they must show respect, not just to the leader, but also show respect to each other.
And also to the dojo.
And also to the dojo.
Yeah.
So respect is one of those foundations in karate. We did that by down on our knees and showing respect.
Yeah.
It's not a form of worship in no way, shape, or form. So let's not get that part twisted.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just to show respect by bowing to each other. And then we start into the other segment, which is our exercises.
Yeah.
And the exercise, there's obviously a lot of different exercises. So we just briefly did the leg stretches, the middle stretches, the hip stretches, the hip flexors, and get those muscles kind of stretched out a little bit before they actually go into learning the karate movements. That's the other segment.
Yeah.
The stances, which is what we call a horse stance, is one of the basic stance. From there, they executed their strikes, and then they went to their front stance, they executed their block. So that's another segment of basic karate training.
Yeah.
Now, what can a student who entered the class, what do they anticipate in learning? Well, the first day they have to learn respect. They have to learn how to sit and how to stay still, children, and show respect towards each other.
And listen to the teacher.
They have to listen to me.
Yeah.
You saw them doing their push-ups, and I joined them right along with that.
Yeah.
The push-up is not a punishment. It may feel that way, okay, initially, but just think about it. The different, you kind of look buff there, okay?
I'll take that.
So you're going to do some push-ups?
You know, the push-up up, those who, you know, it builds you, but not just physically, mentally. Because the way in which we actually execute our push-up is on our knuckles.
Yes.
And on the knuckle push-up, it's not just for anyone. You do feel pain from it initially. But with time, your body get used to it, Marlene, your body get used to it, and then subsequently you're able to do the feats that you need to do.
Yeah. It's not easy. I think you guys did those push-ups like some champs, man.
Yeah.
Is it really hard to do those push-ups?
No.
I noticed your little hands got a little red. Can you show us again? Let's see.
Right. Hold the
So
position.
it's on your flat of your knuckles.
What we do is the first two knuckles.
Yeah.
That's where they're at. And why the first two knuckles? Because when you deliver a blow,
That's where the power.
that's your power. That's where your power is generated. If you
And your knuckles are very telling. Just okay. So these guys are in there. Go ahead. Let's see them.
body down, height,
Oh my gosh.
up, down, height, down, height, yame, up, Gaikazuki. Yo,
So putting together from the exercise portion of it to discipline,
Yes.
Also picking up a bit of the Japanese language as well and the
Yes.
counting,
Yes.
and then they learn techniques,
Correct.
and then they learn their katas.
And then they learn their katas, and then the basic movement that they learn now is transmitted over to the combative skills.
Yeah.
To where they actually do combat, we call it sparring or kumite, against each other. Control. You don't go there, they do not go there to hurt each other, but taking the combative skills, they practice it, so that in case, remember, karate is not just to go out there and say, I'm Mr. tough guy. There's a reason for it.
Yeah.
Self-defense. In case this presents itself, they're able to defend themselves and execute what they need to execute at that time.
Jules and Jet, do you guys have your combats at home?
Yeah. It's
Oh,
at home.
at home, yeah. Do you win sometimes? Yeah. So, you know, I think that the key lesson here is that it's important. I mean, a lot of parents are looking for things for their kids to do after school.
Yes.
Have you seen, you've been with us quite a few times, have you seen a growing interest or just steady or less or?
I've seen a growing interest, not just in House of Shotokan, because I'm part of the Belize Karate Federation and within the karate community. There has been a growth overall in the country of those instructors who have martial arts students from Cayo, from down south, all over. So in essence, parents are looking and seeking for their children to learn something after school. The discipline, the respect, the, believe it or not, grades. You may not connect karate, learning karate with education, but if I was to ask him what his grade is in school, well, I'm going to ask you, what are your grades in school?
98%.
Wow.
Okay, and you? Do you know? You have an idea? No. Okay. All right.
Yeah, you're too young. Don't worry about those numbers
You know,
yet.
but 98%, and I'm sharing with you that there is a connection with training the body and the mind to sit down there and show respect, listen to the teacher, and go home and do your homework.
It's a mental strength that you develop.
Thank you. It's a mental strength that you develop. So grades, the respect, the discipline, all of that encompasses equal success, and that's what mom and dad wants for them.
Okay. And it also probably means that they tell you if you don't do well in school, you can't do karate anymore, right? Do they say that? Yeah, so you have to do well in school? All right, so when's your next belt test? When you try to get that black belt?
In summer,
In summer. All right, so what kata are you working on right now?
Shinte. It's the second degree of this belt.
Okay, can we see your kata? Do you remember it? All right, great. So
Good.
come on over here with us, Jet. We're going to see, and if you just explain to us what a kata is. Yeah.
Well, a kata is a synchronized techniques all lumped together or put together, and it's demonstrated against an unseen opponent. So it's all mentally, and it's also, kata could be used as a form of exercise. Has individuals who are mature in life, get up in their 80s and 90s, you know, they possibly not gonna do that split or leg high up there, but through the kata, they actually use it as a form of exercise. I know when I do it right now, you know, it's a lot of exercise for me, okay? But it's techniques, self-defense technique being executed
And
in
they
the
have
kata.
to master them as they progress.
Yes, that's correct. Hi, yoi.
Shinte. Pesa.
Yame. Hi. Again, striking, elbow. That's a block, kick in, block, and he blocks the other side. Unseen opponents is from different angles. That's the eyes, throat, eyes, and sternum. Body strike, and elbow. And he finishes it with a strike to the sternum. Closes the form. And scratch. Hi.
All right.
Impressive.
And does Jet have a kata that he
Jet,
does?
would you like to do hey and knee down for her? Hi.
Great job. Thank you,
Great
Jules.
job. Blocking the head, striking the body, executing his kick, a block against a punch, and sternum strike, blocking a punch, block another punch, and he's blocking, kicking, striking, blocking, kicking, striking, and block a kick, protecting his head, block the kick, protect his head. Hensubrachi. Ray us.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Great job, guys.
Yeah, I'm pretty
So
sure.
I elevate your belt level, right?
Yeah.
I've decided. But there's even the language that you said, but some of it is kind of just the sounds you make in karate.
Yes, there. You hear this say Aisa. It would be the equivalency of the ki, which is the internal force being released, wake you up, and two, when you, excuse me a minute, Aisa! You know, you say that to your attacker, it's like, oh wait, time out. This guy's mean business here. You know, so there's a force like you're transmitting. Let's get it on.
It's an energy.
It's an energy that comes to you, and also when you're executing your movement, you kia, your aisa. It's like the technique is finished. That's the ultimate movement. Symbolizes, I'm through. You're done. You're dead. You know, excuse me. Okay, just flashbacks here. Flashback. Excuse me. Flashbacks.
All right. So tell us about the schedule for your classes.
The schedule for the classes are Monday through Thursday, from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. is where we have the little ones. Believe it or not, Marilyn, we start our classes with 3 and 4 years old.
Nice.
I was not able to get any of them in today, but 3 and 4 years old, their classes. And then we have the 5 years old, 5, 6, and 7, they have a different schedule. And then their classes also have a different schedule. So 3 o'clock we go 3 to 4, 4 to 5, and adults.
Yeah, they're adult classes.
They're adult classes. Parents, please do not be shy in the way as far as saying, my child will never be able to learn this. I know a lot of parents are real gun shy when it comes to their little daughters. As I said to that lady yesterday, I said, I'm encouraged to hear that you want to enroll your daughter in. Because most parents, they stay away from their daughter learning karate. I said, when she matures and get a little older, it's something that will definitely, the self-defense that she will definitely need to pick up. So overall,
and the
that's
easiest
the
to train, the adults or the littlest ones?
Oh, adults in Belize, you say, head tough like coconut. Okay? Easy for the smaller ones. They just catch it. The adults, adults are adults. They learn it, okay? But the little one, they like sponge. They soak it up. The language that I speak is a Japanese language because it is, the form is Shotokan, derived from Okinawa. And subsequently, the movements are in Japanese. The thought that your child will not be able to process the movement and learn the movement because that guy there is saying, what is Jodanagyoke, what is Gidan Badai, what is Oizuki, what? No, they will learn it because it's repetitive, the classes.
Oh, you learned to count, so definitely, because you want to get to 10 before those push-ups.
That's right, because I gave an assignment to a student yesterday. I said to the parent, I said, new beginner, I said, help him by learning his numbers. Just Google it. Because that's a millennium generation now, you know. Get on there and go, you know, and believe it or not, she came the next day and said, sir, here is the numbers printed in Japanese, and by the way, her child actually wrote
the Japanese
character.
Nice.
I mean, like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. So it's awesome. It's awesome. Right. I'm being charged. And thank you, Millie.
And of course, House of Shotokan is located right here
on Princess Margaret Drive.
Right by the roundabout.
There you go. Right by the roundabout. And again, we'd love to have your son or daughter on our program. We'd love to have them to allow me as an educator to develop them and help you along the way. It says take a village to grow a child. Well, I want to be a part of that village in your child's life.
Nice. All right. Well, and thank you, Jules. Thank you, Jet.
Thanks, Grachi. Hi, Ray. Us.
All right. And with that, we are going to take a break and conclude with a wrap-up in just a few.
The Belize Bank introduces its
And we're back.
Yeah, we're just wrapping up another fun show.
I know. Feeling a bit intimidated by these little kids who can.
Yeah, well, I'm still like feeding off of being called like buff and stuff. So I'm like, that's gonna take me to the rest of today.
You know what? That's on record.
And I didn't have to do any push-ups.
You can rewind the Facebook stream all day and watch that part.
I didn't have to do any push-ups, and
yeah, I noticed that you copped out of that one so quickly.
Yeah, because, well...
Because you already look buff, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. No, it has been a really great show today, and I have to start off in saying thank you to Audrey Matura. This morning, we discussed parts of the sexual harassment law that does exist in Belize. And I think it was a very informative session, and the most important part of it is just showing that we need to work on it a bit more, as well as working on the cultural context that we have.
Yeah.
The culture, yeah, in the country. And it starts with what we tell the kids, what we do for ourselves in terms of setting boundaries. I always say guys can be a great support because not all guys do it.
No, that's true.
But it's if you would just call someone out who does too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So that was like a super important conversation.
Yeah.
We hope that we continue these conversations because certainly it's happening internationally.
Yeah.
And the movement's sort of starting here as well because, you know, we spoke so much about how much it is a part of our culture. Harassment and, you know, all things that are on there in terms of like dominance and all these things. And I mean, it's not only in the workplace, it's in schools, it's on the street, it's all over the place. So as you say, start the conversation early, teach people boundaries both ways, as in how far to let somebody come in, how far to go with somebody else, and time and place. There's always a context, you know. So it's just teaching people what are the correct boundaries, and it's good that you know, Audrey said that at least Belize has legislation, other countries don't. So we're starting, but we've got lots more work to do.
And we have the most important first step. So it's really just to ensure that it has the type of coverage that it should and allow for the level of protection that it should.
Yep.
So, you know, great job. Usually that first step is the hardest one. Let's just hope that the conversation started here this morning and that you continue it in your workplace, with your family. You know, one of the simplest things you can always do is just, especially for men, just put it in perspective of your sister, your wife, or your daughters.
Or yourself.
Like, what would you want? Yeah, or yourself.
Put yourself in the same situation.
What would you want them to endure, and what would you do to protect that? So I think that's kind of a starting point. Then, talking about great initiatives, a Spanish spelling bee.
I know. I think both of us were tested a little bit this morning.
Terribly.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And that only shows how great the skill set is of the high schoolers that are going to be participating. I love the fact that they also were very cognizant they made sure that the participants weren't necessarily Spanish speakers, because it'd be a lot easier, you know. But what it does is forces the students out of their comfort zone, especially if they're not natural Spanish speakers.
Yeah, and of course, at the end of the day, it benefits them by teaching them a new skill, gives them more proficiency in the Spanish language, and you know, that can be so useful, not only for communicating in other countries, but I mean among people in our own population who are bilingual or speak Spanish. It opens a lot of doors, and it improves your thinking as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Learning a new skill, like a new language.
You're right. Knowing a new language is just another way to expand the knowledge that you do have as well. So that quiz actually takes place the 21st of February. You can look out for more details with that. If you want to show your support, you can contact the organizer at Our Lady of Guadalupe High School in Belmopan. And then Shehan Ray Kelly was with us from House of Sharakan.
Yeah, and showing us, well, having Jet and Jules show us their super cool katas, their exercises and stretches, all of that they do. That's but also what struck me as I was watching the katas is that you know, we're talking about, everybody thinks about the physical aspect, but the mental concentration, dedication that it requires, discipline that it requires and instills in you, it's super interesting to watch. And of course, it's a great thing that if you want to, if you or your want to get involved yourself, or you want to get your family members, your kids, it's great because it helps develop so many different skills, physical and mental.
Absolutely, and they take kids as young as 3 and 4, and there's also adult classes at night too. I always encourage it. It's a great way to learn self-defense too. If any other reason, you can be able to do it for that purpose as well. Right, but that's all the time we have for today. Remember, if you want to contact us, send us an email at oye@channel5belize.com. You can drop me a line at marlene_oye@channel5belize.com. Find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ.
And on Instagram at OIE Belize.
And remember to tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes.
And start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your heart open.
We'll see you soon. Enjoy your day, Belize.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country, your bank.